this conversation is going to be in Spanish and English, both languages. I think the importance of that is that expression needs no language, but all the creativity and the emotion is, I don't know, let just flow through our bodies.
Sí, exacto,
Yeah,
exacto. Estamos muy fluidos y
estamos muy
conocemos.
fluidos.
Sí,
Eso me encanta.
y yo, I know you desde la Feria de Arte Clavo hace un año pasado y este año también. Tenía un proyecto muy impresionante en Clavo este año y me encanta su vista del mundo y estoy muy curioso a aprender más de sus imágenes, los temas de sus imágenes y cómo podemos aprender más. Um,
Muchas gracias, Michael. Yeah, well, this first slide is showing actually the image that I presented at Clavo, the
mhm,
sixth edition, where I first met you. And it's about, well, the name of it is When I Look at the Ocean, I Think About My Own Death. A veces cuando miro al mar pienso en mi muerte. That should be the translation in Spanish.
mhm.
And I like to explore themes such as grief, blindness, sexuality, death. Also, like a trigger warning here, suicide, which is like a personal experience, like deeply rooted in me.
Sí.
And also my transition as a trans non-binary person, which I think I started exploring it during the pandemics. Like a lot of people, maybe, yeah, that are hearing me say.
Estamos encerrados en la casa todo el tiempo y solo podemos hacer cosas con el tema de yo.
De ir hacia adentro y la introspección y realmente el tiempo de la pandemia como una cápsula de tiempo en donde empecé a preguntarme quién era, qué es lo que era y sobre todo cómo quería seguir participando activamente en el mundo, descubrir mi ser esencial y descubrir cuál era mi tarea respecto a las artes, qué es lo que iba a hacer para seguir socializando mi práctica artística a través de la fotografía, que es uno de mis medios principales.
Ajá.
Well, the first question I would like to answer here, I mean, I'm not answer, but just explore,
Sí.
is the theme about grief and grieving. So, how do I grieve? I feel that grief bonds us through diverse experiences, both universal and personal. It is something we have all experienced, maybe not once, but even several times in our lifetime. Grief knows no magnitude. Yes, it can come from death, but it can also manifest from something we've lost or a moment forgotten from our memory. I think grief for me is about feeling absence, presence, and the intimate spaces grown in between. And I used to think about grief exclusively as my relationship with death, but it really has recently permeated into my idea about life. So
Mhm.
I think right now as grief as a reintegration of my emotional landscapes toward losing and changing. Uh, we're seeing a photo of a performance I made in Oaxaca in 2019.
Mhm.
The name of it is Field of Dry Land to Sow, Campo de Tierra Seca para Sembrar, en donde empecé a explorar el reclamo. I was reclaiming something not only from the land, but from maybe society, maybe all the rules, maybe all the systematic things that were happening to me, and how all that really impacted my body and my feelings as a human being. And this is when I started thinking about my own transition. And bueno, esta imagen pertenece a 50 Postcards,
Mhm.
which is the exhibition that nos une el día de hoy. And I wanted to thank you, Michael, like really, really so much. I love being part of it. And I think the nature of this exhibition is about making a collective like a collective scream, a collective pledge, because I think what is happening right now in our world, specifically in, I don't know if I can say it,
Sí.
in the US.
Okay, sí, sí, es obvio.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking,
Sí.
it's awful, it's horrific, and all these adjectives keep coming to my mind, but I don't know. I just really think you're really brave by pushing this exhibition, by putting all us together. And I think trans people matters, of course, and the LGBTQ plus community is one of the greatest things in humanity.
Sí,
Like,
sí, and I think it's a powerful statement to put these 50 images together in a postage format, not only because it makes it possible to put 50 images up on your wall and host people and create a safe space for your community to come together, but also because so many of our spaces are closing and in danger of closing. And so we need to do what we do best, which is
yeah.
against. Um, so I appreciate it. Tell me, cuéntame la historia de esta imagen específicamente.
Sí, en español, esta imagen pertenece al proyecto Les Trans Nacemos Oliendo una Flor, which could be translated into Born Smelling a Flower, just like you put it on Instagram.
Mhm,
And I was doing personal research about gender in an indigenous community in Oaxaca.
mhm,
And why there? Because I was collaborating with a friend who is a mushe artist, and she practiced weaving with native cotton, and that's the reason I get to this population. Like, it's in the coast of Oaxaca,
mhm,
and there I started studying the origins of gender, like how these ideas keep coming across our bodies, like they keep affecting us, and how do they keep forming us, but also pushing our bodies into something that I think it's not real.
mhm,
That's that's up to this point has been my exploration with gender. It's more like an ideal thing, like a structure. I think it's a structure to just constrain our bodies and just keep controlling them.
mhm,
So I started recognizing like different symbols, and I kept studying person persons which were socialized as girls and person which were socialized as boys, and women and men and the animals in between, and the relationship that the people in this location get with these animals, but also with the landscape and with the traditions. So I remember it was a festival week in this location, and mushes are a really important part of this celebration, but this doesn't eradicate transphobia and machismo and all these gender roles.
Could you do me a favor and just in case somebody doesn't know what mush is, could you just
Yeah,
be a little.
thank you. Yeah. Mushe could be also translated as to a spirit.
Mhm,
Are the people that consider themselves to have both identities, not only as women and men, but also the one that is in between. So mushes are originally from Juchitán, Oaxaca, which is a location in the coast of the Istmo de Tehuantepec.
mhm,
And they usually perform like women roles and femininity, and also have like a special relationship with their moms and their about motherhood.
mhm,
So they usually stay with their mothers, and they take care of them during their whole lives, and they have like this. really flowery dresses, like typical in garments,
Mhm.
um, to celebrate their femininity and their relationship with a more softer type of word. I think world. So mushes would be as our own Mexican two-spirit people.
And I think what's interesting, que es muy interesante, esta su exploración, abrir la puerta, open the door for you in the exploration of this community, um, to discover your own trans nature, your own self within the.
Yeah, yeah, so pienso que cuando vi a las mushes y a las amigas de mi amiga, la forma en cómo la comunidad se relacionaba con ellas, empecé a notar que si bien eran muy amadas y muy queridas y eran como flores que florecían en sociedad, eso no erradicaba necesariamente la transfobia y el machismo, y entonces lo conecté también directamente con la imagen budista de cómo la flor de loto florece en medio pues en medio del fango o en medio del lodo. Yeah, the lotus flower kept blooming in
Mhm.
the Buddhist tradition, like in between the mud or the things that are, I don't know, dirty or muddy.
Mhm.
And this beauty is also resistance.
Mhm.
And it's a particular type of beauty try to resist in this violent world and doing it by your body and just like keep changing it and
Sí.
keep blooming. I am like a
This is
flower.
a very interesting juxtaposition of the flower with the American flag as well.
Yeah. So this was a girl, and the picture was made in, I think, in three parts.
Mhm.
First of all, I noticed this flower, like it was really open and vibrant, and the name of it is Flor de Oro, which could be translated as golden flower. And it's a really typical type of flower in the coast of Oaxaca. So the girl was playing with this flower, and I asked her the name of this flower, and she told me this was like the golden flower. And then I noticed the pants, which had the flag of the United United States of America. And I don't know, having this flag in a Oaxacan location, like really far away from US, it really caught my attention because we have an important history about migration also.
Sí.
And I started recognizing like a lot of symbols here. And what is this flag doing here? I mean, what does the ray of sunshine is like spotting only in the stars? And I only needed to ask the name of the flower, and then the child um, kept me telling about more about the flower and the materials and the texture of it in her hands. And although she's not a trans person, the context was the celebration of Mushes and the celebration of the, it's not the Holy Week in there, but it's like a really important celebration week, also crossed by religion and food and I don't know, but
I think is
there was a lot.
a huge thing in Mexico. I mean, I grew up Irish Catholic, and here in Mexico, the blend of traditional indigenous culture, Catholicism, and even local cultures creates a very unique blend of imagery and foods and cultural celebrations in Mexico that are so unique uh,
Yeah,
to Mexico, and it's one of the things I really love here.
yeah, and it's all mixed up, like Dia de los Muertos is already mixed with Halloween also, and just like because of the syncretism, and we have like a really special bond between US and Mexico because we are neighbors, we are really close in our frontiers, and also in the language, the ideologies. And if you go to Tijuana or northern Baja California, it's just like the limits are
California.
practically, yeah, like
It doesn't, there's no
yeah.
feels the same. It doesn't
Yeah, so
mean
that is really interesting also because I think we humans doesn't necessarily need to have boundaries or countries like in a more romantic type of way of thinking. Like we are all humans, we are all people, and this diversity is the one thing that we should be embracing like constantly, you know? So yeah, I think that this image, although it was made like 2 years ago, or I think three years ago maybe, in the context that is happening right now, it's it is really enlightening what is happening right now in the US.
see.
Because I think that that's the thing about queerness. Queerness is, I think it's not only about the thing, who do you like or who do you go to bed with, or I don't know, who do you share your sexuality with, but also queerness is about empowering yourself, but also empowering your community. It's just about making the collective more collectively full. And queerness is about being resistant and reluctant to the powers that are crushing us right now. And there is going to be always a ray of light that it's going to keep on shining our path, our queer path. And I think that this image really kind of explores all of that.
Yeah, I agree. And the way that this is lit with natural light and the emphasis on the flower and the figure, a brown skin figure, the United States flag, it just feels a moment of reflection, and it makes you want to ask questions about how all these symbols relate to each other.
Yeah. So, esa es la historia de esta imagen y es un proyecto que eventualmente se desarrolló más hacia mi propia forma de entender mi propia transición y la forma en cómo yo empezaba a florecer también en mi propio camino como persona no binaria. Y pues me gustaría más adelante, si hay tiempo, seguir explorando este tema. This is a project that the name of it is Maybe the Light Would Erase All Traces. And it's a series of 12 black and white images from a black overexposed film, an audiovisual piece, and a braille Ouija board. And this project put us in contact with grief, with loss, and the emptiness left by affections, the affections that affect our life experience and shape us from the origin of the void. Just as in the psychological theory of the ghost, I think all desire arises from the lack of something, so it arises from a ghost. So I was talking here about a film that got overexposed in the cuarto oscuro, in the dark room, because I I committed an accident. I didn't put the tank in the right position, so a ray of light entered into this tank, the revealing tank, and it really messed up the film.
Wow.
So the film was like all uh,
Wrapped.
what's the name of it? What's all wrapped within it. So the film starting re-photographing itself with this new ray of light and started producing new images
Wow.
of the old images that kept that I think that there were like really dark images because this light overexposed against the film. So I couldn't control any of that. But then when I started revealing again these images, I started seeing these landscapes And I don't know, but what I see in this picture is maybe a person or a human figure being, but it's also transformed into a tree, which is in the upper side of the triptych. And in the bottom part is just like it disappeared and just like it all flows in the same direction, like diminishing. So
Mhm.
I think grief is about I don't know, maybe the acceptance that our human bodies aren't going to endure, but certainly they are going to be transformed.
Right.
And this is the way it looks in the wall. It's a series of 12 images that I was able to reunite again by forcing the film into a really longer exposure time, like again, and putting a lot more light because the film was almost black. So, and then I discovered that an essential piece of this project was creating a Ouija board in Braille. Why in Braille? Because these images are invisible, so I make it a metaphor of talking about invisible landscapes with invisible language and just try to retouch these images to put again myself in contact with the things that are forgotten, like maybe memory or our own history. I mean, I am not talking about only death and memory here, but maybe all the things that need to be reshaped and need to be enlightened in order to be misunderstood and just like made history out of the forgotten things again.
And memory is flexible, like
Memory
language,
is flexible.
and it's based on who who is telling the memory or recalling the memory, because we don't remember things the same way. Even this conversation, if I asked you to, write briefly on what we talked about, your memory of this would be different, adjusted than my memory.
Yeah,
You have
yeah.
a visual impairment as well, yes?
Yeah, I got diagnosed with a glaucoma suspect when I was 24.
Okay.
I was already a photographer, but since I was really young, I mean, that really didn't strike me as hard as 10 years later when I started thinking about the fear of losing my sight or just losing my memory also. And the answer that kept moving this project was um, what would be the last image that I would photograph before losing my own sight. And my glaucoma suspect is already controlled since I was 24. I got like an eye surgery in both eyes.
Mhm.
So they pierced my both irises. And during years, I kept using specific eye drop treatment to reduce the pressure that I have in my eyeballs. But right now, I mean, my glaucoma suspect is only it's only a vehicle that keeps me motivating to look farther and forward into not only the ability that we have in physically in our eyes with the sight, but also the thing that our world is shaped by the images, and the perception that we have of these images is the result that the world we keep seeing.
See. And it's also the way that you'll remember things as well. So this theme of memory and ghost is almost, it's literal and uh, um, poetic.
Yeah. So it's almost like a puzzle. I think my work has been like a revealing puzzle of the things that really care for me the most. I mean, blindness, death, suicide, sexuality, my trans journey, and all the things are assembling into one big body of study that I think it's fascinating. I think that that is why art and photography is fascinating because it keeps revealing you what's inside, not your only your body, but your material cells and your soul and your whole spirit that is inside. And that is your relationship with the world, I think.
And I'm partially sighted as well, and within my own work, I'm always trying to explore how to explain what it is that I'm seeing in the world. Not because I want to highlight the differences, but because it's an opportunity to reframe memory and to help people pause and ask, how their vision is actually changing their perspective on my work as well.
Mhm.
I see this inside of what you're doing here, even the literal application of Braille as a language. Um, I see that challenging aspect of not only how you're seeing things, but how you're challenging other people to reframe their vision too.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. Yeah, and I think the most important thing is building collectiveness, is building is getting to know ourselves as a group.
Mhm.
We are all humankinds. And although I think grief is a grief of my own, also the grief of the other is my own grief because we are all connecting, no? We are all connected. Um, so I started experimenting and documenting my transition as a trans person and trying to also connect this with my grief and the things that are gonna change and the things that are gonna be behind me in this journey. Um, entonces empecé con la práctica del tejido porque estaba haciendo el proyecto de Born Smelling a Flower y all those materials like the native cotton and the thread and the yarn, I don't know, it just kept talking to me about um, in español is mortaja. Mortaja is like your last garment, the last garment you're gonna use when you're dead, like just before you get buried.
Okay, see.
And by kept grabbing like this set of photographies
Mhm.
into black thread, I started recognizing my own death as a girl I was educated to be. So I was just like trying
The
to,
depth of the identity you were born into or placed upon you when you were born, and the letting go of that person to be your true self. Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And also I kept open these little windows where you could see the eyes of each picture.
Mhm.
And those are photographies that are from since I was 6 years old up to I was 14 years old. So it's just like a three-dimensional type of folding photography type of object. And that's the one that I kept um, reshaping into a ball of yarn. And these little images that you could only open them with this gesture and just like try to keep looking at the glance. And the glance is not something that has changed, I think. And then I also made a performance, which could. This was also part of the project, Born Smelling a Flower, and the name of it is A quien tú ves no es una mujer urdiendo, which could be translated as Who you are watching is not a woman weaving. So I started working with my body and with different positions, trying to weave. And what I was weaving there was a forest and the logs that were here. And I started just like grabbing all these nature elements with the native cotton thread
Mhm.
until I finally got like, it's not a like a closed cocoon, but it's more like an open type of a spider web type of thing.
Wow.
And the wood was also intervened with this really fragile and really thin native cotton thread.
Mhm.
So this was like a really fragile moment, but also it was really powerful. And I discovered here by doing this performance that this fabric, this open fabric, all this flexibility is what makes it really strong and really powerful. So I started thinking of it as a collective group.
Mhm.
So as long the group is open and keep receiving more diversity, it's going to get stronger. But
Right.
it's if as if it's tighter and more stressful type of fabric, it's gonna be um like
Break. See.
what's that? Yeah, like more easily.
Yeah, it becomes fragile because of the stress.
Yeah. Y también tenemos que tener cuidado de las conexiones humanas que vamos haciendo. Son valiosas, son hermosas, son frágiles también, pero en esta misma fragilidad hay mucha fortaleza y mucho cuidado. Entonces, aquí entendí que la transición de una persona trans no es únicamente individual, sino también es colectiva. No solo la persona trans o la persona no binaria o la persona queer es la que está en este viaje, sino todas las personas que están a su alrededor, ¿no? Entonces,
Está muy,
todos,
perdón.
sí, sí,
Eh, sigues, pero, perdón.
sí, sí, que todos nos transformamos si nos dejamos transformar por la persona trans, ¿no? Entonces también, o por la persona, bueno, sin poner etiquetas, es que todos nos transformamos si nos dejáramos transformar por las demás personas. Entonces es como,
Sí, es como transformación con tiempo, con inteligencia o no inteligencia, o transformación de ideas
sí,
políticos y ideas religiosas y
ujú,
ideas de la familia y qué es la familia, está cambiando mucho en el mundo.
ujú,
Y también con la presión de cosas en el mundo y las transformaciones en mentalidades.
ujú,
Es como una reflexión, reflejo de,
ujú,
de la necessity de comunicar
ujú.
y
Sí,
las conexiones. Tengo una pregunta para ti.
sí.
Quiero entender un poco más um, de I'm thinking about the trans experience in Mexico
Ujú,
con la historia de Mushe y
ujú,
esta parte de la cultura vieja de indigenistas y en la historia. Y ahora, hoy, en México, creo que hay más gente trans
ujú.
cultura. ¿Y qué está tu impresión de cómo aceptan trans en México y cómo crees está diferente?
Sí. Hay una historia acerca de las mushes que se cuenta en Juchitán.
Ujú.
No la tengo muy bien, localizada ahorita, pero a grandes rasgos, un santo un día en la región de Juchitán traía dos costales,
Ujú.
two bags, and in those bags, in one bag they were female seeds, and in the other bag they were male seeds. So when he started doing his bath, there were holes in both bags. So
Yeah.
they started scattering in the land, and they started combining themselves, and that combination lead led to the origin of the mushes because they are a combination of these two female and both male seeds. And that's the reason the name of the title of this project is related to a flower and blooming, because mushes say about themselves that as mushes, they are gonna keep blooming and blooming and blooming as long as they become themselves. Y pienso que la identidad trans en México, al estar acompañada de este relato de florecer, no solo individualmente, sino en colectivo, grandes campos de flores que florecieron a partir de este mito en la región de Oaxaca, como me lo quiero imaginar. Ahí hubo un parteaguas importante para la identidad trans en México. Y creo que am, al ser una sociedad muy machista, también creo que fue una forma del mismo sistema machista para convertirse en algo mucho más suave y mucho más femenino, como si esta parte del propio sistema quisiera seguir evolucionando en algo más. Entonces, I think queerness is also a part, maybe like the most desirable part of the machism. I think maybe machism wants to be feminine,
Uh-huh.
and just I think that's like a really powerful idea. Try not to antagonize everything, but try to, like with the imagination, try to start discovering that maybe machismo wants to be feminine too. And the residual part, or just the liminal part of it, it's also resisting its own machism system, and it's producing like these more soft identities, these more feminine identities that doesn't have to do with only power, and just like more about desire and collectivity, and caressing your own community
Mhm.
with softness.
It's very,
Um,
very true and very, I think, reflective of the queer experience. These contrasts to the way within the queer community we give ourselves permission to discover ourselves and look to the rest of our community to reflect back to us not our value as a person, but our uniqueness as a
mhm.
without the definition. That's why I prefer the word queer over LGBTQ, for the flexibility of that reflection to come back and not be um, so transformed or mutated by the patriarchy, the these standardized binary definitions of who we are supposed to be. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. There is a metaphor about building a bridge that I really like. The bridge has to be, its structure has to be, um, it has to be strong, but it also has to be, it has to have the capacity or the ability to be flexible in order to the bridge keeps making the mechanics
mhm.
about supporting the weight of the things that are gonna pass over the bridge. But if the bridge is also, it's only about being this hard, this concrete hard, the bridge is gonna break sometime. So it really has to have the capacity or the ability to be flexible in order to have movement and dynamics. So I think that's why entre más flexibilidad, if we have more flexibility and our relationships are more open, they are going to embrace a lot more of the diversity that is already there existing. So we shouldn't be closed systems. We have to be open systems in order to embrace like what keeps coming. And I think the trans journey is about that, like just be opening and aware and flexible and dynamic and in movement of your own journey, but not only your own journey, but also the relationship that you have with your community, with your groups, with your family, with your friends. And I started recognizing these human connections that um, I think that is the most valuable there. And then also the connections that you have with your nature and the animals and the elements and all the treasures that are surrounding us. I mean, this planet is precious.
Yes.
And I think why we are destroying it, you know? Why?
It's our nature.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like,
Interesting because we focus so much on destruction, and I think destruction is not only a negative, it's a positive, because creation is destruction as well. There's the cycle within it, and our attempts to define things are limiting as well. I'm so appreciative of you sharing your work with us today, and going behind the scenes a little bit more. Um, and I will encourage people to follow you on Instagram and see your work, and also we'll be launching a show with your work on the Artsy platform Beyond, and you'll be joining our residency soon as well, which I'm very excited about. As a final kind of statement to everyone, these 50 postcard show, it's very easy to contextualize as revolution, as activism, as all these different things. But the reality of it is these 50 postcards can be used to create a safe space for the people in your own community to create a community, and create a context for exploring your own identity, finding
yeah.
yourself in the diversity of those images. And I love this piece at Clavo.
Thank
This
you.
was really, really, really beautiful. Thank you
Yeah.
for,
Thank you again, Michael.
yeah, you're wonderful. And I'm excited to get to know your work more and more. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I
Uh,
really appreciate it for spending this time with you.
yes. So.